Okay, so thank you for being here. This is December, I think we're on the 15th or the 14th of December, right before Christmas. So I know some of you are all getting ready to plan your vacation and how you're going to prep for this exam. Today, we are going to talk about the Foundations of Reading test and my course, Fort Prep 101. So just to let you know what we're going to cover today, we're going to talk a little bit about me so that you know who I am, why I do what I do, and why I'm qualified to help you along this journey. We'll talk about who of you I am best able to help and serve. We'll talk about the Fort 890 content, which is actually exactly the same as the Fort 190 content. It's just a code, a testing code that they're transitioning out of. So I know like Allie in Ohio, it's 190 still, but it's still just a formality. So the content is exactly the same. We'll talk about the different sub-area competencies that this exam covers, the specifications for that, and then my course specifically, and I'll take you behind the scenes and answer any questions about the exam or the course and make sure that you're feeling like you have a plan for how to get started here. So just a little bit about me. My name is Emily Muccianti. I am a reading specialist. I'm a 30+ year veteran educator, and I have recently retired or semi-retired. And so I spent my career in California, was there for 27 years in the classroom, most of that providing reading intervention K-12. So the content of the Foundations of Reading test is like the back of my hand. I know it inside and outside because I've lived it, breathed it, taught it for so many years and trained other teachers in how to deliver that instruction. My family and I moved to Boise, Idaho about almost 5 years ago, and we are now here and loving it. And I'm happy to expand the group of teachers that I work with outside of California. So I'm across the country at this point. And here, these are just a few pictures of my actual classroom, some of my materials, me working with students, that sort of thing, so that you know, this is legit. I've been in the trenches. Let me tell you, retirement, though, on the other side is really, really nice, but you can get there. I, too, remember the stresses of having to study for exams and get that credential. So that is not foreign to me at all. So Fort Prep 101 is the name of my course, and it is specifically designed for new teachers who are preparing for the Fort exam, which is a requirement in now 17 states as it stands in the 890 version. Now, this is also for test takers who need a structured support and a prep guided by a mentor so that you have a step-by-step plan in how to actually approach the content. This is also for those of you who might feel a little overwhelmed by the content, which is the science of reading content. That can feel very, very challenging for those of you, you're new teachers. You don't have a really wide, vast toolkit yet. And so part of what you will learn here is not only the content for the exam, but also how to be a better reading teacher and teach those students. This is about professional development. So that is really what I've done to design this course. Now, this exam, again, it's under either the 190 or the 890 version, is a requirement, and they're adding states constantly. We're now up to 17, even maybe 18 states. And some of those credentials that require this exam will vary state to state. So no matter what, you always want to refer to what your specific state is asking you as far as if this exam is required for you and under what circumstances. The main focus of the Fort is on the science of reading, content, and structured literacy. So it is a step-by-step approach in how to teach students to read, starting from the very beginnings of pre-K, TK, and kinder, all the way up into middle and high school. The exam is designed to measure your foundational knowledge to ensure that you can teach reading effectively to your students. And that really is the most important skill that you're ever going to teach anybody, no matter what your grade, no matter what your credential, you or your content. The biggest job that you have is to ensure that your students are literate. That's a really big charge. So this is a new test structure. So those of you that were involved in prepping for the RICA, there are some differences as far as the structure, but the content is still very, very much the same. It is more streamlined and it's more targeted to really hit that science of reading, which you may have been exposed to either in your undergrad work or just some of your other professional developments. So the teachers that are required to take this in most states are single subject credential holders who want to add a multiple subject credential. So if you're currently teaching in secondary, but you want to come down to the elementary school and get that credential, you will have to take the FORT. This is also a requirement in most states for private school teachers who are teaching multiple subjects, pre-K 3, are ed specialists or special educators, and any teacher who may have been a teacher in another country, but is trying to be credentialed in one of the states here. This is for those also that were in California and were prepping with the RICA, but have a renewal code of an EPC 5F5. This has to do with whether or not you were part of that COVID waiver. So that is specific to California only. This is also for California multiple subject ed specialist teachers who have completed all of their other credentialing requirements, but still need to clear this one. And then if you happen to be a teacher who was prepared via the Peace Corps, that is also a requirement in most states. So the structure of the FORT 890 is that we have 100 multiple choice questions. These questions are going to cover a number of different sub areas and objectives that you will have to be familiar with. And there are 2 constructed response items. So if we compare that to the RICA, for those of you in California, the RICA had 35 multiple choice questions per sub test, and then they had a total of 4 constructed responses and the case study. The FORT is a little more streamlined. 100 multiple choice questions, 2 constructed responses, no case study. That is for the entire exam. Now, this exam must be taken in one sitting. So you're given a 4-hour testing window, but you will get an extra 15 minutes for the little tutorial at the beginning of the exam. But it is not broken up into sub areas like the RICA was. So you have to be prepared for all of it and for that really long haul of sitting there and taking that entire exam. In most states, the passing standard for the FORT is 240. That varies across state lines. California right now has it at 224. That is because they have decided, since it's a new exam, they wanted to give it some time. So it's a little bit of a lower passing standard in California, but most other states are 240. The breakdown of your score is 80% of your score comes from the multiple choice questions and 20% comes from those 2 constructed responses. So each constructed response counts for 10% of your overall score. And the cost to take the exam in most states is $139. You would go to whatever your state testing department is. It's the CTC in California. There's a link there and they will take you to the National Evaluation Center, or series is what it's called. And there's a link to get you there. Now there are 4 sub areas for the FORT. 3 of them comprise all of the content, and the 4th one is not any new additional content. It's just the constructed responses. So the first sub area is on reading development. It's all about the foundations of reading development. And the majority of your score comes from this, or the majority of those 100 questions will come from this particular sub area. So if you are a RICA prepper, this is just like subtest number 2. No, subtest 1. So it would be domains 2 and 3. The second sub area is on reading comprehension, and 20% of the questions will come from that. The third sub area is all about reading assessment and instruction, and there will be 18% of the questions will come from that. The sub area 4 is just the structured difference moving from the multiple choice into the written responses. And so with those 2 constructed responses, the first one is going to go back to sub area 1 and ask for an application of that content with the foundations of reading skills. And then the second one will cover reading comprehension. So you can see kind of what the breakdown is of your exam. I know when, in many cases, we're all a little bit nervous with writing. Writing is very challenging, especially under pressure to produce these application types of responses. But just to give you a little bit of relief, only 20% of your score comes from those 2 written responses. So I want to first talk to you just a general overview of the content of this exam. And this is also a little bit of a test-taking tip for you. Before you dive into the specific sub-area competencies, it's really important that you take a look and learn from a broader standpoint how reading develops. So I'm going to show you 2 specific images that are meant to represent reading development. Now, inside of my course, Fort Prep 101, I have an entire module on this, and there are a number of lessons so that you can have this understanding of how reading develops and those developmental stages for students throughout their schooling. This first image is what we call the simple view of reading. And what is proposed with this image is that reading comprehension is treated as a product. So reading comprehension, and oftentimes teachers confuse it and think it's just an isolated skill, and it is not. Reading comprehension is an amalgamation of all of these earlier skills. And so we have to approach that first and foremost as it's meant to be. Reading comprehension is not one thing. It cannot be taught one way. And so we have to have a really broad understanding of how this works. So the 2 main areas that comprise our ability to read text and comprehend it is first the ability to recognize the words in print, this word recognition side of this formula. The skills that it takes to look at the printed word and decode it involve phonological awareness, phonics, and fluency. This is, can I read the word on the page? The other part of this formula is the language comprehension. And what we see here is that another very important aspect of being able to comprehend what we're reading is having the ability to communicate via language to interpret what those words actually mean. So it involves vocabulary and language concepts. And if we look at these 2 things, we've got the ability to recognize the printed word, know what it says, and then the ability to actually know what those words mean. And that is the foundation for being able to then interpret and comprehend what we are reading. So first and foremost, that's how we treat it. If students are not comprehending, we don't just give them more comprehension strategies. We don't just throw more reading at them. We have to use our assessment, which is another part of the sub areas in sub area 3 that you have to focus on and learn about, to target where that gap is, if you will. The second image that we look at is Scarborough's reading rope. And it takes the same concept. that skilled reading and reading comprehension is a woven set of skills where students have the ability to understand the language, the vocabulary, they utilize their background knowledge, their verbal reasoning, and they combine that with their ability to decode the print, which involves phonological awareness, decoding and spelling, and sight word recognition. And when all of these skills are woven together, the result is the ability to read and comprehend what we're reading. Now, this doesn't always happen as it should. We don't always get a nice, tightly woven set of skills. So we have to, according to subarea 3 and real life application, we have to be able to use assessment to go back to the individual strands in order to determine why the student is not comprehending. And that's really the foundation of what the FORT requires you to do. You have to know about all of these pieces, why they're woven together to create skilled reading, and what to do in the event that something is wrong with our assessment. So if we look closely at each sub area, the first sub area is really dealing mostly with our younger students. We're looking at the foundations for reading development. This involves phonological and phonemic awareness, the ability to hear and manipulate the sounds in words. It involves the concepts of print and the alphabetic principle so that we can have some letter sound correspondence. We know what each letter says, what sound it makes. We also have our ability to use phonics patterns in order to blend those sounds together, word analysis so that we can blend multiple syllables together to read larger words, and decoding. And then something that the FORT does that the RICA did not, which I actually think is really good for you as teachers and as a reading specialist, it's an important thing that we don't forget, is the importance between oral language and written language. The FORT jumps into this more than the RICA did. The RICA never even touched it. So this is really a nice addition. So you will learn about why is oral language so important at those foundational stages, and how does writing impact all of that? Subarea 2 gets very specific about vocabulary development. We look at communication, comprehension strategies for both literary and informational text. We talk about the academic language, so basically elevating the words that are read and written and spoken so that it's more of a professional and educated type of language. And then within subarea 2, we also get into some of the specifics that support the needs of our diverse learners. So you'll learn a lot about English learners, students that struggle with reading, those types of things. Subarea number 3 is the assessment and instruction. So it's planning our instruction by using our assessment data in order to make sure that we're teaching the students what they need in order to develop these skills. This will include both formal and informal reading assessments is what we talk about. It will include the ability to analyze and use the data to guide instruction. We get in deeply into how to differentiate and scaffold for our students who may be struggling with reading. And we also discuss supporting our students that may have reading difficulties. So we'll talk a little bit about dyslexia, some of our students perhaps that are on 504s or IEPs as well. And then the fourth sub area, again, just takes that content, but puts it into the written responses. So the first written response is going to read something similar to this. Prepare an organized, developed analysis on a topic related to development of foundational reading skills. The second one is going to ask you to do the same thing, but related to the development of reading comprehension. Now, these written responses, may be where you could be asked to analyze student data or analyze a teaching scenario. You are required to apply your knowledge of reading instruction into that particular situation. So this is about practical application. The others, the multiple choice part is really, do you have the basics? Do you know the terminology? Can you pick these things out and understand how to use that? But the written responses are, now how do you apply that into a real world situation? So it's not just the theory, it's how would you approach this in your specific classroom? So with the written responses, clear and concise writing is absolutely key. And that is what I focus on in the content of the course, that particular module. We talk about how to deconstruct the responses. We do some samples. We actually then pick apart and analyze and deconstruct some sample responses so that you can see how to do that. Any questions before I go on just about the content?
I have a question. My
Go ahead.
video is not working, but um, how long do they give you for the constructed responses? Like, do you have a time limit?
No, it's a part of your 4 hours. So
Okay.
you have 4 hours to do all of it.
Okay.
And one I will, let me also just kind of throw this in there because this is a question I get. Because people get really nervous about the written responses, their first instinct tells them, well, I'm going to go do that section first. And I strongly urge you not to do the written responses first,
Okay.
because it only counts for 20% of your score. And going through all of those multiple choice questions is going to jar your memory about what you've been learning. And it's all going to be fresh so that when you get there, you're going to be much quicker with it.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. So also, I forgot to mention the requirement on these written responses is 150 to 300 words. So it's kind of a mid-sized response, and they will be prompted the same way. The content of them will just be different. So registration, let's talk just a little bit about test registration and logistics. You would register through the National Evaluation Series website or through your state's website. So if you're in California and you go to the CTC website and you go to assessments, it's going to say the Foundations of Reading test, and it'll take you directly to the NES website, and that is where you will register. Now, you are able to take this exam year round. There are no deadlines at this point. California teachers, I know you guys have been dealing with deadlines all summer and the fall. It's been kind of crazy. So the window is back open, and you can either choose to take this at a testing center or you can choose to do the home online proctoring. Now, speaking from the experience of hundreds of my students who have done this with the RICA, I really want you to decide if that's going to be a good option for you or not. The online proctoring can be great. If you live a couple of hours away from a testing center and it's just, or it's very difficult, it might be perfect for you. But they have really strict requirements as far as making sure that for 4 hours, you are focused on your screen. There are no disruptions. If your child walks in, your dog barks, you turn your attention to something, they could shut you down. So you want to be sure that that is what you need to do. So read that very, very carefully before you sign up for that. Now, the cost again is about the $139 for the exam, but it will vary by state. So go to your own state website to double check. And just like with any exam, there is a retake weight policy. So if you do not pass for the first time you take it, you will in most states have to wait 45 days from your testing date to retake it. And the reason for that is they don't want you to come in and retake using the exact same version. So there's usually 4 to 6 different versions of these exams, and they want to make sure that one version cycle has ended and then another one picks up. And so that is the reason. So if you are on any kind of credentialing timelines, like you have to pass it by a certain date for credentialing purposes, for rehiring, for program placement, please consider the wait period as part of that. This is really why you don't want to procrastinate. You want to get started right away. Life happens, right? And so you want to go in well prepared so that you pass it the first time. That is absolutely essential for you. There is something called alternative testing arrangements that are available for under various circumstances. And this, in most cases, would give you extended time. There may be some other types of accommodations that your specific issue may require. So some of these situations I know have actually qualified for alternative arrangements are if you have a documented learning disability like dyslexia, if you have a specific health condition that would require you to have frequent breaks, to stand frequently, those kinds of things. If you have attention deficit disorder, anxiety, so you need extended time. If English is not your primary language, so you need extra time in order to read that. Those are some of the ones that I know have been approved. So that again is something that you would apply for on your state's website usually, or at the NES system. And you can go in and access free practice test through the NES website. They also have some paid ones, but you really don't need it, I don't think. So there's some prep materials in there to help you get started. They are not very robust, but it is something that you can take a look at as you're just getting rolling. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about my course. I created Fort Prep 101 over the summer as the RICA was winding down and the Foundations of Reading test was coming into play in California. And this is not my first course. I've written several courses. The main area that I support teachers in their learning and professional development is in the area of reading intervention. And so I actually have on my website a K-5 MTSS reading intervention course and also a middle school reading intervention course. This is just another course that I offer. It's probably one of my favorites because I get to support new teachers and I really love helping you along your journey. So this course covers all 4 sub areas. It is fully asynchronous. So everything is pre-recorded. It is designed in a very linear fashion so that you start at the top, you watch the videos, you read the content. There are PDFs, there are templates, there are different resources in there. There are links into different YouTube videos that will show you a lot of these strategies in order or in practice so that you can see how it works. And there are practice tests for each of those sub areas as well. Now, I also offer for my VIP members coaching with their constructed responses. So if you were to join my course and you wanted to be a VIP member, what that would include is your ability to share your writing with me via Google Docs so that I can help critique it. I can tell you what you're doing well. I can tell you what you might need some additional focus and help with so that we can dial in that reading piece. This is, it's very teacher friendly. It's very supportive and visual. One thing about prepping for any of these exams is you get a prep book usually, and there aren't any pictures, there aren't any images, and it's very dry. And so what I did is I created this course in a way that was very visual, very interactive, very pleasing to the eye in order to keep you engaged, because you may feel the content is already very dry, and I've got to keep you, just like when I taught kids, I got to keep you active just like all of them. So I think that you'll appreciate that. Um, I know that's fun for me to do. There is a mobile app available for the course as well. So if you're accessing your course on multiple devices, you can do that through the mobile app. Kajabi is the name of my web host. And so if you go into the Play Store or the App Store and you search Kajabi, you can actually download the app, and then you can access this on your tablet, on your phone. So let's say you're at home on your laptop one day, but then you're at school and you want to review something on your phone, everything will sync, okay, so that you have access to it. There is the course memberships. The way it's scheduled is that once you enroll, you have access for 1 year. So your enrollment fee gives you 12-month access. I do have other options. I have a monthly option, so that we'll talk about in a moment also. So here's just the screenshot of the homepage. And I love this because I'm paying tribute to so many of my RICA students. I love to take pictures at our workshops when we're in Zoom. So these are a number of my successful RICA test preppers. Uh, and I wanted them there because they make me smile. I just love that. But I will, again, when I turn this recording off, I'll take you inside of the course and show you how to navigate it. So even if you're already a member and you're like, I just need to review how to find things, I'm happy to do that with you. So there are some upcoming options that will happen. We used to do bi-weekly live workshops with the RICA where I would have, anywhere from 40 to 60 people on a Saturday, and we would do the content live. So it was scheduled and people could engage with each other and talk, and it was great. Right now, this course is really small. So once we get more members involved and it's more we've got the need and desire to have that I'm happy to bring back. Same thing with the audio podcast, but this has actually happened. It says coming soon, but this is legit now. The course is available for one graduate unit of professional development credit through UMass. So University of Massachusetts Global. So I really think that, especially for new teachers, the more units you accumulate, the earliest in your career, the more money you make. The way that your salary grows is by units in most states. And so you can, as you're prepping for this course, you can do the work and receive a unit of credit through UMass. The unit fee through UMass is $60 a unit. My RICA was with Teachers College of San Joaquin, and they went up to like 90, and I decided that was too much for you. I didn't want you to have to do that, so I've moved over to UMass, and that is now available. So, but I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about your mindset. I know right now you're stressed, you have a lot on your plate, you're dealing with school and work and family and children's and all of the things. But I want to remind you I want to kind of get into your mindset and your heart a little bit here. And just to let you know that this isn't just about passing a test. You are here to become a better teacher and a better reading teacher, more specifically. Reading is the single most important thing you can ever teach a child to do. Literate children go on to have the odds well in their favor that they will be successful in work, in their private lives, in all things. Illiteracy is tied to poverty, incarceration, drug abuse. addiction, so many things. So when you are on the front line and you are well equipped to help these kids, you're really building them up for their future. So this is a big deal. The other thing is I've supported new teachers for so long, and the statistics about new teachers leaving the field, it's crazy. 50% of new teachers leave in 5 years. That after all that you've done, all the money and time you've spent. And a lot of the reason for that is because they are not prepared how to teach. They're getting credentialed in some of the alternative programs that might not have the support that they needed. And so you need to really grab your professional development where you can. And so that's why I created this the way I did. This is professional development for you. You will learn a great deal about the science of reading, structured literacy. We talk about real world classroom realities, not just theory, but how do you put this into your classroom? We go over in-depth instructional practices that actually are going to help your kids learn so that you can walk away feeling like you are ready to get started with teaching kids to read. So this course, the people that get the most out of it, I always like to say you're my ideal students, right? Because I'm the teacher here. And if I had to pick my ideal student, the ideal new teacher is a teacher who wants to be great. You're looking to be that teacher that you had that inspired you. You're looking to make a difference in those kids. So you will love this course if that's the kind of teacher you want to be. You want to spend the time to be impactful. If you are passionate about literacy, and you want to really dive into how to make your students successful. If you are coachable and open to learning, I have a 30 plus years of stuff that I can willingly and lovingly dump into your brains. Um, if you are willing to put in the work because you know that this is not just about the exam, but also about being really good, and you're kind of confused, but you're ready to gain some clarity for it. So that's really who I think is going to be the type of teacher that will be best served. And I want you to know that the course was built for the teacher that you're becoming, not just the test that you're preparing to take. When you focus on your preparations as if you are going to teach this, you will pass the class. I mean, the course, the test, all of those things. You'll pass them all. But when you look at this like as a vocabulary list or a list of strategies and it's all disconnected, you're not going to successfully pass the test. So you go into it ready to apply it to your real life teaching situation, and you will be prepared and you will pass that exam. Now, I've done this with RICA for about 8-9 years. So I have hundreds and hundreds of teachers that have benefited from this approach. In fact, here are a few stories from my RICA. If you want to see what others that have taken my RICA prep course were saying, go to Google RICA Prep 101, have a 5-star review, over 200 reviews, and just read what they say. I have developed some great, professional relationships and friendships with so many of these people, and I'm not going to read all these to you, but it gives me warm fuzzies when I know that somebody took the time to do that. Okay, so let's talk about memberships. I call it a membership. It just basically means that you have access to your course. And right now there are 3 options. The first option is a standard membership. This is $147 for 12 months. That works out to about $12 a month. It's paid in one lump sum. It gives you the flexibility to come and go into the course as you want for that year. And you have access to all of the course content. You can email me for any kind of questions that you may have. The difference between the standard membership and the VIP membership, the VIP membership is a little more because I work more closely with you. This is for the teacher that wants to get some support and help with your writing. And so we're in a tighter communication loop. I'm reading a lot of your writing. I'm giving you feedback. You're sending it back to me until it's all refined. With the VIP membership, you are also able to get the professional development unit. You cannot get the unit with the standard membership because I will not be seeing your writing. This is for the VIP is for those of you that are going to do that required coursework, which is the writing samples, in order to get the unit through UMass. So that is available. But you may want a more of a monthly, even though the VIP is only $15 a month, it is paid in a one lump sum. And so you may rather, like a smaller price point, but it's going to be more. So the monthly plan is $47 a month. A 3-month minimum is required unless you pass the exam. Then you send me your scores and I cancel it out for you. And I always love to offer you just an appreciation, a thank you, a coupon code for those of you that are here live with me. So if you write down this code, Fort Newbie 1215, Fort Newbie 1215, that's today's date. If you sign up for one of the yearly memberships and you put that code in, it will reduce your cost by 10%. That code will expire on Thursday. So that's something that you'll need to make a decision about before then. I do these workshops once a month. So the next one will come live again at end of January. Any questions about these before I move away from them? So your next step is, first of all, find me in all the places, YouTube, Facebook. If you're not a part of our private Facebook group, get on over there, ask questions, throw things out there. We're still very small because we're just started this. It takes a little while to kind of grow. Make sure that you write down my website, emilymuccianti.com. You'll also see all of the other professional development things I offer for reading interventionists and reading specialists in there. But you are welcome to join the course today. The coupon code is active. The moment you enroll, you will set up a password and you can access it and you can start immediately. And I strongly urge you, don't procrastinate. Even if you think that you're not going to take it until February, get started right away. The content is not easy to learn. It's like learning a foreign language. You've got a lot and you're going to want to go through that. I always say repetition is the key to mastery. So, and if you are a former RICA Prep 101 member and you have an active membership, you actually already have access to this course. It was given to you. That's if your membership is currently active. It would be in your library there. So, and write down my email, readingdiva06@gmail. I am happy to answer any questions. We're going to shortly, in just a moment, end the recording, take some questions. But first, let's open it for any questions that I might want to have on the recording. Okay. I always love it how people are like, oh, I'll wait till the recording's off. That's always me too. So that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and end this, show you, and we'll take those additional questions. Let me go ahead and drop that first.